In the middle of the Cold War, across remote stretches of the northern United States, the Air Force kept ballistic missiles and B-52 bombers on constant alert. On the night of October the 24th, 1968, at Minot Air Force Base in Minot, North Dakota, Airman First Class Mike O'Connor was dispatched to make a routine repair at one of the missile sites.
We made our turn to come down the road to the missile site, and out of the corner of my eye, I observed what I thought was a farmer's yard light, but it looked awful bright. And as we proceeded down the road, the object appeared to lift off the ground and parallel us down the road until we came to the missile site, at which point we got out of the truck and it just kind of hovered there.
Staff Sergeant Bill Smith was in charge of security for 10 nuclear missiles. That night, he reported seeing strange objects.
These objects would rise, they would speed up, they would slow it down, they would hover, they would dart very quickly one way or the other. We were just not really sure that these were things that we could explain.
The Minot control tower diverted a B-52 to investigate. Captain Brad Runyon was the B-52's co-pilot.
The air traffic controller asked us if we would mind going out to this one area and looking for something. I was curious, and I said, well, what are we looking for? And they said, well, you'll know it if you find it.
The navigator on the B-52, Captain Patrick McCaslin, suddenly identified an object on his radar screen.
I saw a return, faint one sweep, bright the next, large, off our right wing, 3 o'clock, at about 3 miles. And at that point, I asked the radar navigator to turn on the camera, which would then take pictures of whatever was on the radar screen.
These pictures of the radar screen show the object flying in formation with the B-52.
This thing was climbing out with us and maintaining the same heading we were. That was unusual. But what really watered my eyes when this thing backed away and allowed us to turn inside of it.
When the object suddenly disappeared from the radar, the bomber turned back to find it. Co-pilot Runyon was the first to spot what appeared to be a glowing craft hovering near the ground.
When things like that are happening, it seems like time just stands still. My estimate, overall object was a minimum of 200 feet in diameter, and it was hundreds of feet long. It had a metallic cylinder attached to another section that was shaped like a crescent moon. I felt that this crescent moon part was probably the command center. I tried to look inside the thing, but all I could see was a yellow glow. At that point, I was fairly sure that I was looking at an alien spaceship, something that had come here from some other planet other than Earth.
Co-pilot Runyon and the other crew members of the B-52 reported their sighting when they returned to the base. According to Blue Book's investigation, the crew of the B-52 and 16 witnesses on the ground said they saw a UFO that night. In its final report, Blue Book concluded that they were all seeing stars.
None of those pilots saw a star. I know those pilots. I know what their training was. I know how many stars they'd seen in the course of their careers, and they were not looking at a star. It bothers me that Blue Book blew it off. I don't think this incident has ever been adequately explained.
Then an alarm goes off from one of the missile silos, and turns out that this was what was told to us at the briefing by a general officer the following day. So air police were dispatched to check on the missile alarm, and so the first air policemen that were sent out didn't check in when they should have, so they sent others to check on them, and The second group found the first group unconscious around their vehicle with a paint burned off the top of their vehicle. And when they came to, they said that some object they thought was going to sit down on top of them, and so they started running. That was the last that they knew, but it didn't squash their vehicle or anything, so it didn't sit down on them. And but anyway, it turns out that the reason that the alarms were set off is a 20-ton concrete lid covering the top of the missile silo had been removed, and the chain link fence around the thing had been squashed. There was radioactivity around, and the inner alarm down inside the silo had also been activated. Well, it turns out that there were two ways to remove the concrete lid. You either have a large crane that'll lift 20 tons and set it off to the side, or have explosive charges that blow it off in case we want to launch the missile and go to war. The explosive charges hadn't been activated.
So these things aren't on a mechanism that...
No.
They're just...
It's just sitting there. It's just a big concrete lid just sitting on top of the thing.
If they want to fire that missile, man, they have to blow that...
They blow it off, yeah.
So, but the thing was moved to the side?
Yeah, it was off to the side someplace. It wasn't on top of the missile silo anyway.
Now, and there's a chain link fence...
Yes,
tight around the silo?
Well, just to keep, mainly keep animals out, and I guess people. And but part of it had been flattened, just squashed. And there weren't any tracks around other than just right there at the chain link fence.
Now we want to point out that the written account of this sighting doesn't say anything.
No, this was just told to us. That's why it was such of an important nature to the Air Force, because of the missile being checked out.